You can't get senior leadership to buy into a proposal. So, what are you doing wrong? Possibly nothing. Maybe they just don't buy into it. Sorry to start with that one, but the truth is, that is the most common thing. Is you've placed down a perfectly good proposal from your viewpoint. From the senior leader's viewpoint, it doesn't make sense to move forward against all the competing priorities they can see. What we have to remember is the higher up you are in an organisation, the broader your view. So if you're producing a proposal to deliver to a senior leader, you, by their very definition, have less of a view of that organisation than they do. So you may not be aware of what you're competing against. Okay? So step one, get feedback. Ask them. You think it's good, you wouldn't be there if you didn't, I hope. Ask them politely, respectfully, acknowledge their decision. Okay, I know you don't want to move forward with this. I just want to understand why. What is it that you're choosing instead of this? Because maybe we could help there. Maybe you can't. But what you want to do is have, that's a horrible American phrase, but it really does count here. You want closure on this. You want to understand, okay, it's not that it was a bad proposal. It was that it's not the right time for this proposal. Okay? So once you finish that, is it worth bringing this back? No, not really. Okay. Well, thank you. You can go away. And you know it's done. It's good, but it's not good enough. That's just the nature of the world. Senior leaders' role is very often to allocate the organisation's resources to maximise, the return on those resources. And maybe your idea looks really good in your part of the world, but in the wider world, it's not good enough, and it's not likely to be good enough. Maybe strategically they're going in a different direction, but that isn't communicated. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, it's not got legs. Okay, it doesn't mean it's a bad proposal. Okay, maybe it isn't a great proposal. Again, get feedback. Okay? If you've already presented and they're not buying into it, why aren't they buying into it? Okay? Ask them. If you haven't presented it, talk to people around you, show them it. Okay? Very often what I find is proposals don't explain why this is important to the people they're being pitched to. Okay? Do you understand what those senior leaders' goals are? Do you understand what the organisational goals are? And are you able to articulate how the proposal you have in front of you furthered those goals? Not your goals. That should be really simple. And I'll be honest, they're not fussed. How does it further their goals? Their goals are often bigger. Can you talk to the measures that they're interested in? Can you talk to the strategy that they're interested in? Because if you can't, how are they going to place it into their world? Very often people who bring proposals to me are thinking too small. And I don't mean that to belittle them, it's good work, but what they need to do is take it up a level and bring it into my world. Okay? Because if I'm working as an exec with a client, I don't have time to go into the weeds with them. It's not that I don't want to, I don't have time to. So instead what I want them to do is bring it up a level closer to where I am so that I can look at it and I can understand it and I can say, yeah, I get how that fits into the bigger picture. Okay? And we can have that discussion. Not ask me to come down 1, 2, maybe 3 levels at times to understand what they're talking about down there. Because I'm very outcome oriented, not output. So I want to know how it's going to move the needles that I can see. Okay? When I work with other senior leaders, that's what they care about. Okay? Is how does it affect the picture in front of them? So what you need to do is talk to people around you. Okay? Talk to people around those leaders. What are they looking for? What are they trying to achieve at the moment? And phrasing your proposal as a way to help them. What they can then do is place it against all the other proposals, because you're very likely not the only one hitting their desk in any given week, all the other proposals, okay, and make useful comparisons. Where is the best place to place my money? Right? They're making bets. Okay? I think this is going to work out better than that. I think this is whatever it is. Okay? One of the other tricks that I will often do is work with people to make their proposal smaller. Less risky. Okay? What can you do for a few weeks' work? What can you do for a few £1,000s? Okay? What's the data that you can create that makes this more compelling, more interesting? Okay? And when I work with leaders, it's very often to help them think of problems in that way. As actually, instead of making 1 or 2 big bets in any given quarter, what if you could make 100 little bets, and from those learn which will work and which won't? Okay? And if you've got a 1 in 10 hit rate, it doesn't matter if it's a big bet or a little bet, it's a 1 in 10 hit rate. Okay? The problem is that means once a year you might be lucky if you're making big bets, but you'll get 10 a quarter if you're making little bets. Okay? And of those 10, one of them may be amazing. Okay. But you've got a real chance. You're coming through with maybe 4 good initiatives every year, whereas before you might get 1. So for me, if you're struggling to get your proposal to land with senior leaders, you need to understand why. Okay? Is it because it doesn't solve something that's on their radar? Is it because it solves something, but it's not as good as other options they have in front of them? Or is it that you're asking for too much too soon? In which case, go back and work out what a smaller step is. There are many, many other reasons, but they're 3 of the key ones that I'll admit I've been guilty of, and I see as probably the most common reasons that senior leaders don't pick your proposal up. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.